Our first artist is Judith Johnson. Judith describes herself as a flaming introvert. Her visual thought process is fed by walking and cycling. The borders of natural and man-made and the juxtaposition of patterns figure prominently in her paintings and assemblages. Judith's immigrant grandparents instilled in her a deep love of gardening, archaeology, world cultures, and the importance of family. She works in series related to these themes, and the themes may overlap. In addition to her own artwork, Judith is a docent at the Crocker Art Museum, working primarily with school-aged kids. Welcome, Judith. How are you today?
I'm good.
Since these are really short, I'm just going to dive right in. And my first question for you is, tell me about what you're working on now. What's your current body of work look like?
Well, as always, I'm really busy. I have 4 different projects going at once because I have 4 workstations, and actually I've kind of expanded during COVID into my house as well. So I even work in the house now, which I don't normally do. But there's a lot of overlap between the different series that I'm working on, and they're all tied together by the way I break down space in my compositions and the use of color or the use of the paint. So I'm always as interested in the surface of the painting as I am in the subject matter. Those are both equally important to me. So the oldest series that I'm working on is one that has objects and people and things that tell stories or maybe recall a dream or a memory. And for example, I might have a Madonna with a skink and some sea urchins and a cresting wave. And then, so they're kind of montages of images, but they tell a story, but I don't tell the story to you. You have to make up your own story. Another series that I'm working on that's really expanded during COVID because of walking everywhere is what I call urban landscapes. And these are sort of, they're almost a combination of still life and landscape in that there's usually man-made objects combined with the, where they abut nature. So maybe lanterns and some trees. And again, they're really fractured spaces. There's one of them behind me that you can probably see a little bit. I've also been working on a series of assemblage pieces that are based on my findings in the bike lanes. And that started out with me picking up nails and screws to have good karma. And then I started realizing all the other things that were out there and started collecting them and in my bicycle baskets. And so the rules for this series is that everything has to come out of the bike lane, including whole medicine chests. And I can buy frames at Goodwill, and I can also add some painted elements, sort of little dioramas. And then the 4th series I'm working on right now is a month-long challenge with an online group where I have to build an assemblage every single day. And the dimensions have to be smaller than 8 inches. And those have been really challenging, especially in September, with this going on as well. So, but I'm managing. And I'm having a lot of fun with the little daily things. I don't know if you can see this, but there's like a window.
Oh, yeah.
These curtains come off and can be washed. But there's a prompt every day that I have to meet.
And how's that coordinated?
Well, it's an online group of artists we have a private online site, and then there's a public site associated with it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can submit to public shows, but we can also engage privately with critiques and that sort of thing. It's been really cool.
As you were talking about your 2 pieces, the Madonna, and I was looking at your website, looking at them. So I encourage everyone. I think we're going to probably list your website.
I hope so. Yeah. And it's on the site. It's on the site.
Oh, okay. To take a look at it because they're really great. So can you talk about your artistic process? You kind of touched on it, your artistic process, and talk about it in terms of what it was like pre-COVID-19 and
Oh, yeah, I mean, really, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, but, I haven't had a car in 5.5 years. And so I do all my work on my bike or on foot primarily. Occasionally, I used to take RT. I don't get on RT right now. But, I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of thinking. And you know how when you walk on the beach, your mind just sort of clears and your mind is active, but you're not thinking about anything in particular. You're just taking things in. And I've gotten that way when I walk or cycle around town. And so it's like I'm just taking in the sights and sounds, and I get a lot of ideas that way. And so I usually have a camera with me, and I often have my sketchbook, and I do a lot of little sketches, a lot of photography. And then I come home and I think about it. And I'll do a zillion thumbnail sketches to get the composition sort of what I want. And then I'll develop that. I usually do preliminary drawings for my paintings that are like in either Prismacolor, which is a kind of archival colored pencil. I'll either do a Prismacolor drawing or a little watercolor sketch, or I might build a little collage, or I may build several till I get exactly what I want, because I like to play there with the shapes and the composition and the colors before I have to commit to a big canvas or a big panel, or the time and expense of sanding off a panel that I don't like. So I do have a sander for mistakes, but I try to just get in there and figure things out. And the drawings don't always end up being much like the paintings. I mean, they can be really different, but it's just my way of thinking about it. And I have so many ideas all the time. It's like planes lining up on a runway, so I'm having to make notes and keep, little journals of ideas. But I mat a lot of the work on paper so that, that they're matted to standard sizes, so people can just grab one and plop it into a commercial frame. Because I learned the hard way how expensive custom frames are.
And so that's not, so the shelter in place hasn't really affected that
Well,
part of the
it
process.
hasn't affected that. The smoke has been worse than the shelter in place in ways, because my studio is not open air, but it doesn't have air conditioning. So I have to open the windows and turn on the ceiling fan. And, so when it's too smoky, I just have been moving into my kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out. The thing about COVID is I really miss going to galleries in person. And I miss seeing my friends. I miss, going to openings, and I miss in-person critiques. I was in a critique group for a couple of years, and I really miss that. I miss the Verge artist salons that we had monthly. That was a great group of people, and I desperately want to get back to that. I miss movie night at Verge. And so those were things that I always looked forward to, and I look forward to with them in the future. But
no, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I try not to dwell on that sort of thing. I just try to keep going. And, my artwork does not come from an angry place. When I'm angry, I write. And so, my artwork is about finding beauty in insignificant things and in the mundane, and, things that you just walk past. Those are the things that matter to me.
Yeah. I like what, in your artist statement on your website, you make a statement, you're a vivid dreamer.
Yes.
And you sleep with your eyes partly open.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Is that real? I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like if I have flowered sheets, they might be the sky in my dream.
Uh-huh.
Because whatever's in the room can interfere with my dream. And
Okay.
it's not always bad. It can be really good, but it's how a lot of these ideas come about.
And the painting behind you, is that recent, did you say?
Yeah, I did it a couple months ago. It was, there's a little plant store down the street from me called Botany. And I was walking past it a lot. And so I liked it because you can see through the plants kind of into their little courtyard. And you know, you can see the letters of the store through the plants, sort of. And then my friend was in there with her, you know, colorful clothes on, and I picked her out. You know, it was just really fun.
Uh-huh.
And I've done a lot of paintings of like reflections in store windows that involve trees, but all the reflections coming back, you know, because it can't go in.
Right. No, I love reflection shots.
Yeah, yeah.
I see we're pushing up against it, and I wanted to get in. Are you in any current or future? Do you have any exhibits coming up?
I do. Of course, I'm participating in the SAC Open Studios preview exhibition. I have a kind of non-traditional still life in that. That's one of my grandmother's blue-violet houndstooth jackets with a bunch of costume jewelry laid out on it. That it was something that actually happened. I laid it out, you know, thinking which one of these is going to look good, and I ended up, you know, having it on a table for several days while I could draw it. So that's out there, and then I have urban landscape in a show at artistalliance.space, which is an online gallery. And then I have a big still life going into a show in Danville, but it's probably going to be virtual for right now. And that's at villagetheatershows.com. And it's a big still life. It's about 4 feet, and it's some camellias and a shovel. And and then I'll have an assemblage next month in the artistalliance.space. And then I had solo shows planned for November and January, but I think those are going to get pushed way into 2021 now because everything's been closed, you know, and people are up against clocks.
Mm-hmm. My last question, and this is a little out of left field, is any suggestions or tips for people who are struggling during these times of how to keep motivated?
Yeah, I mean, you have to just kind of keep doing what you normally do. Try to be as consistent as possible, because I find that the more I work, the more I do. I mean, it's like the more, you know, when I'm making something, I'm already thinking about the next thing that I'm going to make, and maybe the next thing after that. I mean, like I have a series of 3D things planned that will take me another year and a half. You know, and they're all planned out, but I don't even have the time, even working 4 to 8 hours a day in the studio. I don't have time to get to them.
So motivation is not your problem.
No, it isn't, as long as I keep moving. You know, if I stop, I mean, it's like if you stopped exercising, you know, you'd be really sad that you were out of shape, and it would take you a few weeks to improve.
Mm-hmm. Or even get motivated too.
Yeah. Yeah. At my age, I find if I don't stop doing something, it's a whole lot easier.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. I think we're right up to it. Is there any, why don't you give your website?
Yes. My website is judithjohnson-artist.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at judith.fa.johnson. You know, there's a lot of Judith Johnsons. So think fabulous abs or fine art or Francis and Augusta. You know, that FA, that's what that stands for.
Well, great. Well, thank you. And I encourage everybody to take a look at your work. It's really, really fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Thanks.